The room went silent, but the air screamed with tension. Marcus stood at the head of the conference table, his hands steady but his heart pounding like a war drum. He'd built this company from nothing, yet here he was, cornered by the very people he'd trusted. Marcus Thompson, a black man in his early 40s, had always known the corporate world wasn't built for him. Raised in a small Chicago neighborhood where dreams were often just whispers, he'd clawed his way up through sheer grit. His company, Apex Innovations, was a tech giant now, a beacon of progress with its cutting-edge AI solutions. But today, in the sleek boardroom of his own empire, he faced a mutiny. Karen Whitaker, the chief operating officer, stood across from him, her eyes glinting with a mix of disdain and triumph. She was a veteran of the industry, hired for her experience, but her ambition had always carried a sharper edge. "You don't belong here, Marcus," Karen said, her voice slicing through the silence. "This company needs a leader who fits its image." The words hung heavy, laced with a venom that didn't need to name race to make its point. Around the table, a few executives shifted uncomfortably, but none spoke. The air was thick with cowardice. Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd heard whispers like this before, subtle jabs at his background, his style, his very existence in spaces like this. But this was different. This was a coup. Karen had rallied half the board, leveraging their insecurities and prejudices to challenge his leadership. The accusation? Mismanagement. The real motive? Clear to anyone who could see past the lies. It started months ago, with small slights. Karen would interrupt Marcus in meetings, her tone patronizing, dismissing his ideas as unconventional. She'd question his decisions in front of clients, planting seeds of doubt. Marcus had tried to rise above it, focusing on Apex's soaring profits and groundbreaking projects. But Karen's campaign grew bolder. She'd whisper to board members about cultural fit, a coded phrase that made Marcus's skin crawl. He'd seen the look sideways glances from colleagues who'd smile to his face but never defend him. The isolation was a slow poison, but he'd endured worse. Then came the leaked email. Karen had sent it to the board, a scathing critique of Marcus's leadership, accusing him of prioritizing diversity hires over merit. The email didn't name race, but it didn't have to. It was a dog whistle, and the board heard it loud and clear. Marcus got wind of it from a loyal junior employee, Tasha, who'd risked her job to warn him. The betrayal stung, but it wasn't a surprise. Karen had been building her case, waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment was now. The boardroom was a battlefield, and Karen was armed with a PowerPoint presentation that twisted Apex's recent challenges, a delayed product launch, a budget overrun, into a narrative of Marcus's failure. She stood at the projector, her slides filled with cherry-picked data, her voice dripping with false concern. "Apex deserves better," she concluded, her eyes locking onto Marcus. "It's time for new leadership." Marcus felt the room tilt. He'd poured his life into Apex, working nights while others slept, sacrificing family time to secure deals that made these executives rich. And now, they sat silently as Karen painted him as an outsider. He scanned the faces, some avoided his gaze, others nodded along with Karen. Only Tasha, seated at the far end, met his eyes with quiet strength. "Get lost, Marcus," Karen said, her voice low but sharp. "This isn't your place." The words were a punch to the gut, but Marcus didn't flinch. He'd faced worse than Karen gang threats in his youth, professors who doubted his intellect, bosses who'd overlooked him for promotions. Each time, he'd fought back. This time would be no different. "You're wrong," Marcus said, his voice steady but burning with resolve. "This is my company. I built it. And I'm not going anywhere." The room stirred, whispers rippling through the executives. Karen's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered, leaning forward with a mocking tilt of her head. "Your company?" she scoffed. "You're a figurehead, Marcus. A diversity checkbox. The board agrees it's time for you to step aside." She gestured to the others, who nodded weakly, their spines as soft as their convictions. Marcus's hands clenched into fists, but he kept his composure. He'd learned long ago that anger only gave people like Karen ammunition. The meeting ended with a vote scheduled for the next day, a vote to oust Marcus as CEO. As the executives filed out, Karen lingered, her smirk a silent taunt. Tasha approached Marcus, her voice low. "They're planning to rig it," she whispered. "Karen's been meeting with them privately, promising favors." Marcus nodded, his mind racing. He had one night to turn this around. Back in his office, Marcus sat at his desk, the city skyline glittering through the window. Apex was his legacy, a company that employed thousands, many from marginalized communities like his own. He'd fought to make it a place where talent, not privilege, defined success. Karen's coup wasn't just about him, it was an attack on everything he'd built, every door he'd opened for others. He couldn't let her win. Tasha knocked and entered, carrying a stack of documents. "I dug into the financials," she said, her voice urgent. "Karen's been hiding things." Together, they pored over the files, uncovering a trail of discrepancies. Karen had authorized risky investments, funneled funds to shell companies, and inflated her department's budget to mask losses. The evidence was damning, but it wasn't enough. Marcus needed to expose her to the board, the employees, and the public. The next morning, the boardroom was packed. Karen stood confidently, her allies flanking her like a loyal pack. Marcus entered last, his expression calm but his eyes alight with purpose. He carried a laptop and a single folder, Tasha at his side. The vote was moments away, but Marcus had a plan. "Karen," he began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Before we vote, let's talk about leadership." He opened his laptop, projecting a series of financial records onto the screen. Gasps filled the room as the numbers told a story of deceit. Karen's face paled, her composure cracking. "These are your transactions," Marcus said, his tone measured but unrelenting. "Unauthorized deals, hidden losses, and a trail leading straight to you." Karen stammered, her voice rising in defense. "This is a setup. He's trying to distract you." But the evidence was undeniable. Tasha stepped forward, presenting emails that confirmed Karen's secret meetings with board members, promising them bonuses for their votes. The room erupted in chaos, executives shouting, Karen's allies shrinking in their seats. Marcus raised a hand, silencing the room. "Apex isn't just a company," he said. "It's a promisito our employees, our clients, our communities. You want me gone because I don't fit your image of a leader. But leadership isn't about fitting in. It's about doing what's right." The vote never happened. Karen's allies abandoned her, their loyalty crumbling under the weight of truth. By noon, the board demanded her resignation. But Marcus wasn't done. He called an all-hands meeting, addressing every employee via live stream. He laid bare Karen's actions, not to shame her but to show what Apex stood against. "We're better than this," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We rise together, or we fall apart." Karen left the building that day, her career in ruins. But Marcus didn't stop there. He announced a restructuring, promoting Tasha to a leadership role and launching an initiative to ensure Apex remained a place of opportunity for all. The company didn't shut down, it thrived, stronger than ever, a testament to resilience and justice. As Marcus stood at his office window that evening, the city lights reflecting in his eyes, he felt a weight lift. He'd fought not just for himself but for everyone who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Apex was his home, and he defended it. The scars of the battle remained, but so did the Victoria reminder that truth, when fought for, could outshine even the darkest lies. The fallout from Karen's ousting rippled through Apex Innovations like a shockwave. Employees whispered in break rooms, their voices a mix of disbelief and relief. Marcus had exposed a rot at the company's core, but the wound was still raw. He knew the fight wasn't over. Trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild. As he walked through the office the next morning, he felt the weight of every gaze. Some employees nodded in quiet respect, others averted their eyes, unsure how to face the man who just turned their world upside down. Marcus didn't sleep that night. His mind churned with what came next. Apex wasn't just a business, it was a symbol, a place where people like him, those who'd been told they didn't belong, could prove the world wrong. Karen's betrayal had threatened that, but it also exposed a deeper truth. Prejudice didn't always scream, sometimes it whispered in boardrooms, hid in emails, or wore a polite smile. He needed to root it out, not just for himself but for everyone who'd ever felt its sting. By midweek, Marcus called a series of meetings with department heads. He wasn't naive. Karen hadn't acted alone. Her allies on the board, though silenced for now, still held power. And there were others, quieter skeptics who'd never openly supported her but shared her doubts about Marcus. He needed to confront that head-on. With Tasha by his side, now officially his chief of staff, he laid out a plan. "We're auditing everything," he told the leadership team. "Financials, hiring practices, promotions. No stone unturned." The room was tense, but Marcus didn't waver. If Apex is going to stand for something, it starts with accountability. The audit was brutal. It uncovered more than just Karen's financial missteps. There were patterns: qualified candidates from marginalized groups passed over for promotions, subtle biases in performance reviews, and a culture of favoritism that rewarded those who fit in with the old guard. Marcus felt a mix of anger and shame. He'd been so focused on building Apex's tech that he'd missed the cracks in its foundation. But he wasn't here to wallow. He was here to fix it. Tasha proved invaluable. She'd grown up in a neighborhood not unlike Marcus's, her sharp mind overlooked until Apex gave her a chance. Now, she was his right hand, fearless in calling out inconsistencies. One evening, as they sifted through reports, she looked at Marcus, her eyes fierce. "This isn't just about Karen," she said. "It's about the system that let her thrive. We have to tear it down and build something better." Marcus nodded, her words echoing his own resolve. They worked late into the night, drafting policies to ensure transparency and fairness. It wasn't enough to punish the Karens of the world, they had to make it impossible for another to rise. The employees noticed the shift. Marcus held town halls, standing before hundreds, his voice raw but steady. He didn't sugarcoat the truth. "We've let some of you down," he said at one meeting, his eyes scanning the crowd. "I've let you down. But we're changing that. Apex is your home, and we're making it right." He announced new initiatives, mentorship programs for underrepresented groups, mandatory bias training, and a whistleblower system to report misconduct anonymously. The response was mixed: some cheered, others whispered skepticism, but Marcus didn't expect universal applause. Change was messy, and he was ready for the fight. Karen, meanwhile, didn't fade quietly. Word spread that she'd hired a lawyer, claiming wrongful termination and defamation. Marcus wasn't surprised. People like Karen didn't go down without a fight. Her lawsuit accused him of fabricating evidence, painting herself as the victim of a witch hunt. The media caught wind, and soon headlines splashed across business outlets: Apex CEO faces legal battle amid leadership shakeup. Some articles were neutral, but others carried a familiar slant, questioning Marcus's unorthodox leadership style. He recognized the dog whistles, the same ones Karen had used. It stung, but he'd expected it. Tasha suggested fighting fire with fire. "We go public," she said, her voice urgent. "Show the world what Apex stands for." Marcus hesitated. Airing dirty laundry risked Apex's reputation, but silence risked more. He agreed, and they crafted a statement. It wasn't just a defense, it was a declaration. Apex Innovation stands for opportunity, integrity, and excellence, it read. "We've faced challenges, but we're stronger for it. Our commitment is to every employee, every client, and every community we serve." Marcus posted it himself on Apex's social media, along with a video. In it, he spoke directly to the camera, his voice steady but his eyes burning with conviction. "This company is bigger than one person's ambition," he said. "It's about all of us." The response was overwhelming. Employees shared the video, adding their own stories of what Apex meant to them. Clients reached out, pledging support. Even strangers online weighed in, praising Marcus's courage. But there were critics too who echoed Karen's narrative, calling him divisive, accusing him of playing the race card. Marcus read the comments late one night, his chest tight. He knew he couldn't please everyone, but the hatred still cut deep. Tasha found him staring at his laptop, her voice gentle but firm. "You're not alone in this," she said. "Keep going." And he did. Karen's lawsuit crumbled within weeks. The evidence was too strong, her lies too exposed. The court dismissed her claims, and her reputation took the final blow. She vanished from the industry, her name a cautionary tale. But Marcus didn't celebrate. Her downfall wasn't the victory he wanted Apex to be the victory. He doubled down, meeting with employees one-on-one, listening to their fears and ideas. He promoted new leaders, like Jamal, a brilliant engineer who'd been overlooked for years, and Maria, a marketing manager whose ideas had been dismissed by Karen's clique. Apex began to feel alive again, its pulse stronger with every step toward justice. The company's next product launch was a turning point. Apex unveiled a new AI platform, one that prioritized ethical algorithms to reduce bias in Hiringa project Marcus had championed from the start. The launch event was packed, the room buzzing with energy. Marcus took the stage, his suit sharp, his smile genuine. "This is for everyone who's ever been counted out," he said, his voice carrying the weight of his journey. The crowd erupted, and for the first time in months, Marcus felt hope outweigh the pain. Months later, Apex was thriving. Profits soared, but more importantly, the culture shifted. Employees spoke up in meetings, unafraid. The board, once a battlefield, became a place of collaboration. Marcus stood at his office window one evening, the city lights a reminder of how far he'd come. He thought of his younger self, the kid who dreamed of building something bigger than himself. He'd done it, not just for himself but for Tasha, Jamal, Maria, and countless others. Apex wasn't perfect, but it was proof that fighting for what's right could change the game. The scars of the battle lingered: doubts, whispers, the occasional anonymous email questioning his place. But Marcus wore them like badges. He'd faced the Karens of the world and won, not by sinking to their level but by rising above it. Apex was his legacy, a testament to resilience, justice, and the power of standing firm. As he turned from the window, his phone buzzed with a message from Tasha. "You did it, boss. We did it." He smiled, knowing the fight would never end, but neither would his resolve. "What do you think? Where do you stand on the line between justice and division? How would you face a fight like Marcus's?"